Hey everybody, welcome to Trifecta Tech Talks Let Me Show You series, where we give you quick tips and tricks on how to get the most out of Salesforce. I'm Jason Kilp, a senior designer at Trifecta Technologies. In today's episode, we're going to work with Experience Cloud, and specifically the news content record type. And we're going to show you how you use that to create a list of news articles that link to news detail pages. Now that sounds simple, but it's not actually that intuitive how to do it, specifically with Aura templates. And a lot of people in Trailblazer groups and other communities have had questions about how exactly you use this. So that's what we're going to cover. Let me show you. Okay, so right now we are in Salesforce Experience Cloud, and I'm in my digital experiences screen. I have a few things here. So I have a whole bunch of digital experiences that I've used, and I have a few workspaces here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Tech Talks. And in here, you can see I have, if I go to the main Tech Talks and go into News folder, I have 3 articles. So these are news content types, which is what we're talking about. So the way you create a new piece of content is you click Add Content, and you get these options here. So document, image, and news come by default with Experience Builder or with the Experience Cloud. These 2 up here are ones I created myself. But the ones we want to focus on right now is news. So the way you do it is you click Add Content, and you get to create a new article. So let's just go into one of these that I've created already. So you can see in here, let me edit this as draft. So I've saved it already, but I'm going to create a draft of it. So when you are in a news content record, there's a few fields that you get. One is you get a title field, and that's just the name of the content. It's also going to be used for like the headline, and then the way to link to the news article. Then you get the body field, and then the body field is just a rich text editor, and that's the main part of your news article. This is where you put all the content, images, things, links, whatever you need to put in there. That's the main part of it. And if we scroll down, there's a banner image and then an excerpt. And an excerpt is a common thing. So excerpt would be the snippet of text that's used on the list page, or maybe it's something that shows up just underneath the headline. You can use it for whatever you need, but that's kind of the point of the excerpt. So let me save this, or I'll publish this draft here. All right, published. And we go back. So now I have these 3 news articles. What we need to do to get this to work correctly is we need to create a collection. Now a collection, to create a collection, you go to whatever website you're working on. So I'm working on this Partner Central one. I go to Workspaces. And once I go into Workspaces, I go to Collections, and then I want to create a collection. So in this case, I don't have a collection for it, so I'm going to create one. And I'm going to call it News Articles. And I'm going to use CMS content for the type. And then I want to use news. So you can only have, when you create a collection, it can only be one type of content. So I can have a document collection or an image collection or a news collection. I can't mix them. It has to be a single type of content. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to manually select them. So I go here. So here's all the potential news articles I have. I just want these 3 because these are the ones I'm working with. So now all 3 of these are in my collection. So what we want to go do now is we want to go to Experience Builder. We want to start building out these pages. So when you go into Experience Builder and you click on the way to get to different pages, if you scroll down a little bit, what you might notice is there's normally by default on most Aura templates, you will get this by default. So it'll come with it. You have the news content page, and then you have the news detail page that comes with it. So what this is not a page you create. This is how you select the type of content you're going to show. So if I were to click new page and I would select CMS content page, this is what we're working with. You can see news is not here. That's because you can only have one of these content pages in your site. So news is already taken, but if I wanted to have a detail page for documents, and I would click this, and I could create a document detail page. But we already have news because it comes with defaults. It comes with it by default. So if I click here, this is a news detail page, and this is where we want to put the content. But if you see, there's nothing there. So what we actually have to do is we have to put a component in here to get this to work. So if I click on components and I scroll down, you want the CMS single item detail component. And I'm just going to drop that right in there. So this is a single item detail. And what we want to do is we want to lay this out now. So we don't have anything mapped yet, any fields mapped. So let's map this up so we can actually see some content. So we're going to show subheading, we're going to show a featured image, page layout, we'll do image first. And now we need to map all the fields. And the way Experience Builder works, these components work, is there's a list of fields you have access to or that you can display. You need to map that field with a field in the content record. So if I go here and I go back to my content, so let's click on this one. I have this field, title field, body field, banner image. These are the fields that I need to map to a field in the component in Experience Builder. So my headline, I'm going to map to the title. Oh, you can see it shows up. Subheading, I'm going to map to the excerpt. Image, I'm going to map to the banner image. And then the content body, I'm going to map to the body field. Yay. Then what you can do is you can set some styles. So let's see, header alignment, header tag is going to be in H1. Assignment, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Yep. So that's fine. Like we'll go with that for now. It's not the best looking site, but you can modify it however you want. But at least we have our content there. So you'll notice the content that's being displayed. I didn't choose this content. It kind of picked it for me. And I think this is partly where some people get confused. It's hard to understand like where this content is coming from because this is a page template. So you don't get to choose which content you're looking at when you're editing this. It's all, whatever you apply to this is going to apply to all the news articles. And it just picks one for you just to work with. Okay, so now we have a news article detail page. Great. But we need a list of news articles so that we can actually get to this page. So how do we do that? Well, what you actually need to do is you have to create a brand new page to do that. So we're going to create a new page. Standard page. We are just going to do a new blank page. We'll do flexible layout. Next, we're going to call it news. Okay, we have this new page and it's called news. Now we need to add some content. So the first thing we need to do is I'm just going to give it a headline here. So let's give this a headline. Well, let's just put in, I just want some content. I'm going to put a headline there. Let's see, welcome. We're going to say news. And let's just remove all this for now. Okay, news. Here's our news page. What we also need is we need a list that shows that collection of articles we created. So in order to do that, we need the CMS collection component. I'm going to drop that in right here. Okay. So we have a collection. What we need now is to select our news articles collection, which we've got here, selected. Now, like with all things with Experience Builder, we have the content there, but we need to map it to something so that it works. So we're going to map these two together. I'm going to do layout. We're going to do a grid layout. There's only 3 articles. We'll do 3 columns, only 1 row. Remove all this. Don't need any of this. Okay, that's great. Now we want to do layout. We're going to do tile layout because I want to have a banner on top with some text below. I want to show the headline, I want to show featured media, and I want to show a subheading. So I don't want to show any of this. Now let's map the fields. I want to map the headline to the title, subheading to the excerpt, and the image to the banner image. Okay, now it's coming in. Now let's just change a few things. Let's use an aspect ratio for the image because it's very big. 16 by 9, that looks great. And my headline, you know, that's fine. Maybe component style, maybe I don't want that border on there. So let's get rid of this border. Just custom color, and we're just going to hide the border. Okay, great, no border. So I'll preview this. Okay, got my 3 articles. Let's click on it. It works. Let me go back. Let's go back to Builder. Go back to the news detail page, or the news list page. Actually, you know what? Let's preview it this way. But we don't have to deal with any issues. So if I click on this, yay, it works. Click on this. Yay, it works. It seems like it just magically worked, right? So that's because this collection is referencing a news content type. So that's what the data I'm pulling in. The news detail page is a content detail page, and it's pulling in the news content. So because the collection and the news detail page component are pulling from the same data, it knows to automatically link to it. And that's kind of how it works. And that's really the main thing that kind of confused me when I was first doing this. I couldn't figure out, well, how does it know to link to this page? I didn't understand that, but it's because it's pulling from the same data. So it just automatically knows that stuff. The other thing to note here is that you can change URLs, right? So this is /news. And if I go to news detail, this /news/URL alias, the URL doesn't matter. I can change the base URL to whatever I want. And if I preview this, so look up here for the URL. So I'm on the news page. Let me click on this, and I see the URL changed to blah, 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 blah. The URL doesn't matter in this case because it's using essentially the API name of the content. So the URLs can be completely different and it'll still link to each other. They may have reason for doing that, but again, the URLs don't matter. All that matters is pulling from the same content type. All right. So now we have a working news article, or a working list of news articles that go to a news detail page, and you can kind of style that however you want. So the same thing applies to if you wanted to create a blog list or anything like that. In this case, because a news article is used already, you would create a brand new content type. Let's say it's a blog, so maybe you call it blog. Then you can add some fields in there. And then what you would do is you would create a new page, same as content page, and then if blog was here, you would select blog. Then you would create a new list page, so you call it blog, and then you create a CMS collection component, and then you just make sure it's pulling from the same content type as your blog detail page. And that way you can have as many sort of list pages as you want. You can have articles page, you can have resources page, you can have blog, you can have news. As long as you have separate content record types for each of those, you can create list and detail pages for each of them. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope this cleared up how to use the news content record if you were having trouble with it. Thanks for watching. If anybody has any other questions, or if you have any topics that you want to learn more about, we can cover Aura templates, we can cover LWR templates. Send us an email and we'll be happy to help. Thanks again, everybody. See you later.